here for you. Fox 4 News starts now.
Hello, I'm Dan Godwin with a look at what's making news in North Texas. Crews in Denton County spent the day cleaning up after a train derailment. A locomotive and 3 coal cars went off the tracks early this morning in Roanoke. No one was hurt. A crew worked to clear the coal and remove the damaged rail cars from the tracks. Roanoke Deputy Fire Chief Douglas Parks says the cleanup is a very methodical and often tedious process.
With it being cold, our biggest concern is any diesel fuel leaking from the locomotives, which it's not. We've already uncoupled the train and they've moved it down to open up the crossings. So that's done. Now just getting this cleaned up right here at the site where the derailment occurred will be the biggest thing, and they have crews on site doing that.
The fire chief says there is no safety threat to the public. A Dallas woman is concerned about her safety after a stray bullet hit her apartment over the weekend. Vanessa Sierra, who lives in uptown Dallas, says she heard what sounded like glass shattering around 2 a.m. Saturday morning. She says she lives alone and felt too scared to even move, thinking her window had suddenly broken. She ended up going to sleep. The next morning, she saw drywall scattered across the floor and a bullet lying there too. That's when she looked up and saw a hole where a round entered from the outside.
If this really was to become something serious where it did hit a person, where they died, and they're doing it for fun or they're doing it just joking around, and it turns into something really serious, like you want to avoid something like that. Now I'm paranoid to be like sleeping, or because at night you just never know.
Sierra lives in a complex just south of Fitzhugh Avenue along Central Expressway. Her unit overlooks the freeway. She notified her apartment management about the incident. They told her she had to make a police report before they would fix it. Dallas police are investigating the shooting deaths of 2 teenagers killed over the weekend. Officers found a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old shot inside a car Saturday afternoon outside the Mountain Creek Branch Library southwest of downtown. Police have not talked about a motive or a suspect. You are asked to call Crime Stoppers if you have any information. The Dallas Zoo says one of its giraffes died after all. Friday, the 15-year-old giraffe, Feral, fell in the barn and severely injured his jaw and tongue. The injury made it difficult for him to eat. Veterinarians determined there was nothing more they could do. The Dallas Zoo says this is a sudden loss and an absolute heartbreak. A North Texas couple currently in Japan is dealing with the threat of tsunami warnings after a series of earthquakes. A 7.6 earthquake hit Japan's west coast, setting off tsunami alerts. A series of aftershocks followed. People have been told to get to higher ground, saying waves coming in from the ocean could reach more than 16 feet high. The North Texas couple felt the earthquake from their 9th floor hotel room in northern Tokyo.
I hopped up and looked out the window and could see buildings swaying and stuff as well.
Carly McCleary is in Japan with her husband, who is stationed at an army base there. She is in the process of returning to North Texas. The city of Fort Worth is inviting residents to a public forum on education. Led by Mayor Maddie Parker, the panel of educators will focus on the successes and the challenges the city is dealing with when it comes to education. The event is planned for next Wednesday, January 10th, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Ridgely Theater on Camp Bowie Boulevard. The discussion is free and open to the public. If the NFL playoffs started today, the Cowboys would host the Green Bay Packers, the team Mike McCarthy coached to a Super Bowl title. Dallas can clinch the NFC East with a win at Washington Sunday. McCarthy says the boys didn't let a 2-game losing streak spiral out of control because they knew everything they wanted to achieve was still right in front of them. After chasing Philadelphia for most of the season, the Eagles have hit the skids, losing 4 of their last 5, including a home game on Sunday to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys have weathered their share of adversity, and they've won some close games. McCarthy believes that will serve his team well going forward, and in his mind, the playoffs start now.
Let's be honest with you, the playoffs have already started. I mean, the way this thing lines up for Sunday, there'll be more playoff games played Sunday than there will be the rest of the playoff season. So, I just think you want your team playing a certain way, and everybody, has that opinion, and based on how you're using your players and things like that, and I do feel that the complementary football team, one that can play to that level, is a really good formula for playoff football.
The Cowboys will clinch the NFC East and second seed in the NFC with a win in Washington against the 4-12 Commanders. And you can watch that game on Sunday at 3:25 here on Fox 4. And coming up on our new news, well over 100 athletes representing universities across the country will make their way to North Texas to showcase their talents. A preview of the East-West Shrine Bowl when we come back.
And a parade of storms on the way. We'll have that coming up.
Some of the best college football players in the country will come to North Texas for the East-West Shrine Game next month. The annual celebration of college football features 130 athletes. The game is the nation's oldest showcase for the top players in the country. New Hall of Famer and former Dallas Cowboys defensive tackle Randy White played in this bowl game back in 1974 and will serve as a game ambassador.
I'm excited. That's always a great game. The guys playing in the game are college players that a lot of guys are still looking for a spot to get drafted in the draft. So it's a very competitive game. It's not like what do I say? The Pro Bowl game now is not as competitive as it was 20, 30 years ago when I played in it. But this would be a very competitive game and a good game to come watch.
Proceeds from the game benefit the mission of Shriners Hospitals for Children. For more information, we've got a link on our website, fox4news.com.
Well, taking a look at our weather over the next week or so, we're going to be entering into a stormy pattern. In fact, we have a parade of systems on the way over the next week or so. First one arrives later today. We get a little bit of a break Wednesday into Thursday, but on Friday, another shot at some scattered showers across the area. It could be wet at times. We get a break over the weekend, and then early next week, an even stronger system moves in, and we're already putting a high chance of rain for early next week. Could be quite wet and stormy around the area. Let me show you the timing of these systems. The first one arrives today. We're going to see plenty of showers with this afternoon, this evening, and early on into tonight. This is going to be a cold rain. This quickly moves out. We get a break Wednesday and into Thursday, but then on Friday, here comes the next system. Out ahead of it, scattered showers breaking out. There could even be a wintry mix up in Oklahoma if you're going to be heading that way, but not a concern for us here in DFW. The weekend looking pretty good overall, maybe a sprinkle or two on Saturday, but the next real rain chance after that comes early next week, where a much stronger system moves into the plains. Doesn't look like a severe weather setup here, but along the Gulf Coast certainly could be a problem. Either way, this will be our next really good opportunity for some heavy rain. So these rainfall totals, they're going to add up over the next week or so between the system today and the system on Wednesday and a Thursday and Friday. Should manage to pick up perhaps a half an inch to an inch of rain, but the next real opportunity for that rain comes early next week, where once it's all said and done, we could end up talking about 1 to potentially 3 inches of rain. Either way, this is fantastic news. We're still dealing with drought conditions from last summer, mostly gone in the Metroplex, but across North Texas, there's still some lingering light to moderate drought conditions in some spots. So we just need to keep on adding to those rainfall totals. I think over time, we will continue to see those drought conditions going away. All right, so as far as today's forecast goes, shifting gears, It's going to be a chilly day. Probably not getting out of the 40s this afternoon. And on top of that, rain chances will be on the increase as well. Take a look at what happens as we head later on to this afternoon by 3:30. Widespread showers breaking out south of Interstate 20, and these spread across the rest of the area as we head into this evening. So we're likely going to be talking about a soggy evening commute across much of North Texas. This continues through 9 o'clock, but the good news is that we do dry out. Heading into tomorrow morning, the rain's out of here, but we may have a tough time getting rid of those clouds for the first half of your Wednesday before sunshine does gradually return heading into your Wednesday evening. All right, so taking a look at the big picture. Looking like winter across much of the U.S. today. Widespread 40s across most of the south. The only exception is Brownsville, 74 degrees there. But otherwise, looking chilly across the United States today. And over the next several days, we're expecting a typical January chill. Average lows 36. We won't be far from that through at least the weekend. Same thing during the daytime. Slightly below average, but not too far below our average high of 56. So it's going to be chilly either way over the next several days. Now take a look at this. Up in Canada, the cold air is beginning to build up there. I'm seeing more and more sub-zero temperatures, and this is a sign of some of that really cold Siberian air starting to work its way back to our side of the globe. And just looking at the long-range computer models, the signal does look quite cold for much of the United States. So I do expect these long-range temperature outlooks to trend colder and colder, and we could be talking about a real chill heading into the second half of January. We'll be watching closely. All right, so here's that 7-day forecast. 60% chance of those showers. Might as well bump that up even higher. It's looking wet the second half of today. This will linger into tonight, but I do think we're dry by the time we wake up on Wednesday morning. We get a break Wednesday to Thursday, but then on Friday, here comes the next system with that scattered showers moving in. Should be a chilly, wet day on Friday once again. We dry out for the weekend, but then early next week, an even stronger system moves in. Notice we already have an 80% chance of rain and storms heading into next Monday.
All right, thanks, Dylan. If you purchased a Powerball ticket in North Texas, you'll want to know the first Powerball jackpot winner was bought in Michigan. A single ticket won the $842 million prize in last night's drawing. If they choose the lump sum, the winner will take home $425 million. Final ticket sales pushed the jackpot beyond its earlier estimate of $810 million. This was the first time a Powerball jackpot has been won on New Year's Day. And that's a look at what's making news in North Texas. Of course, for news anytime, go to fox4news.com.